Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to another edition of NBC's 10 Count. I'm Steve Fall, and on today's episode, let's get fabulous. We got Briana Brandy with me. How you doing today?
Hey, hi. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show because I think a lot of people have so many questions for you, especially about your hair, because I'm lacking a lot of it. But let's move on beyond hair because, we don't want to get into schematics about that. How did you get into professional wrestling? Was it a friend, a family member, channel surfing perhaps?
I watched wrestling growing up, more so when the Attitude Era was around. I'm a huge rock fan, loved China as well. But I actually got into wanting to actually become a wrestler I was running on the treadmill at a gym, and the guy saw me running, and he was like, I think you'd be great at wrestling. Like, have you ever thought about it? And I was like, no, because China was my favorite. And she was running with the boys, which that resonated with me being a tomboy growing up. But she was like really buff, like she was ripped. So I was like, I could never be a wrestler, because of how her body looked at the time. So whenever he brought that to my attention, I was like, I don't really know, because I hadn't, watched wrestling a lot up until that point either. So I didn't even know what the girls looked like and what was going on in a sense either. So until he brought it to me that moment, I never thought I could be a wrestler. But once I got back into it and dove into seeing what the girls were doing today and just how everything had changed, I was like, okay, this is definitely something I could do for sure.
Right. I think you bring up China, which is a great point, because she was just so different from what people were used to. Before her, we had Miss Elizabeth, then you had Sunny, you had Sable. So you had this look you had to have. And China showed up, and you're like, wait a minute. This woman is body slamming men on TV, and this is unheard of when she showed up in 1997. So you bring up today's wrestling. So really, there's a big dynamic, I think, online with wrestling fans where you came from the divas section of wrestling when you had like the Candice Michelles, the Kelly Kellys, even Beth Phoenix. Now you have Sasha Banks and the Four Horsewomen, Becky Lynch. So really, I guess the question is, like, is there a difference in the women's wrestling from when China into now, or is it just the presentation is different?
I think the presentation is different, and more also even say, well, all these women were athletic back then, but they're really focusing on how athletic the women are now, and the look that they have now, seeing them more so as professional wrestlers and not just, just a pretty thing that goes along with wrestling. So definitely. Right.
Yeah. And I agree on that. I have a daughter, and I don't want her to be looked at as a Sable. I would rather look at her, as a Briana Brandy or a Sasha Banks or a Becky Lynch, something like that. But many fans might not know, when you came to the WWE in 2019, you later appeared on a segment, Raw Underground, and you were actually yourself. And you were interviewing Braun Strowman. And this is during like the height of COVID, and people were afraid. And when at home, people are watching this going like, is this real? Is this a shoot? Is it fake? I don't know. But you were there. So how did you get involved with Raw Underground and interviewing Braun Strowman?
And that moment actually just happened when I was there. I mean, they had, you could see on the Raw Underground, they had people surrounding the ring, and like the crowd was right there in the match, the audience part of it. And Shane sees me, and he's like, "You have a great look. Like, I might want someone to co-host the show me. So I'll let you know. Would you be interested? Like, are you comfortable on the mic?" And I was like, coming from music in my background with that, I was like, I'm very comfortable on the mic. Like, I'm more comfortable there than I am in the ring right now because I just learned this, Yeah. So he's like, just be prepared. I'll let you know maybe in the coming weeks if I need a co-host for this. So I'm like, okay. I'm shook. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he just asked me this. Like, I could be co-hosting Raw Underground. This is insane. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking that is coming in the future. I'm prepared, in that moment always. But just in a few weeks, he'll maybe ask me to do this, and I might be doing Raw Underground. He goes to a meeting. He comes back that same day, and he's like, hey, you ready? And I was like, ready for what? He's like, I'm thinking I'm going to use you today. Like, I want you to co-host with me today. And I was like, oh, okay. All right, let's go. He's like, okay, I'm going to have you you're going to end up interviewing Braun Strowman. So I need you to come up with some questions to ask him. And I'm like, all right, let's do this, I got this. So yeah, it just happened drop of a dime. Like I just was there, opportunity came about, and he just asked me on the spot, and I had to be ready, and that's how I got the job doing that.
Outstanding. Raw Underground, I think, deserved more of a chance. I don't know why people online is always going to be negative online, obviously, but there was like, oh, it's not night wrestling, but it really reminded to me as growing up, you brought up Attitude Era, Brawl for All, where I think fans were upset where I'm supposed to believe one set of rules in the squared circle, but then there's a different set of rules on Raw Underground, and I think that might have made some fans a little perturbed. But either way, I loved Raw Underground so much, and I definitely enjoyed seeing you on there as well. I think there was I thought there was so much potential. There was so much potential there, and it was trying something new, but sometimes things new don't continue on. But did you like a Raw Underground?
I thought it was great. It was an opportunity for everybody who had different backgrounds besides, like, everybody wrestles in the ring, and everybody has a little bit of their own style when they're in the ring. Yeah. But Raw Underground was like, you bring, if your jiu-jitsu is your style, you're bringing all jiu-jitsu. If boxing is your style, you're bringing all boxing. So I thought it was amazing to showcase every, superstar in their martial arts background or whatever fighting background that they had. So I think it was really great for that. And I really did wish it could live on a little bit longer. But yeah, it was amazing. I loved it.
Don't worry, in 20 years when some kid grows up and has a podcast, they'll talk about Raw Underground and they'll bring it up and say, it was so good. But in NXT, though, when you finally were on, TV and you had a character that you were into, what was that development like? Because some people come into, say, the Performance Center with an idea of who they want to be. Did you always have this idea of who you wanted to present yourself as?
So I wanted to be the first woman to actually come on here and do, rapping and things like that, and actually have a full character behind that. And coming from music already, I was ready to, to lay that in and mix that with the wrestling and the boxing and all the stuff that I'd done before, just to gel it all together with the wrestling. It was the perfect place for this. So I knew automatically when I came in exactly what I wanted to do.
And so then Hit Row was the faction that you were a part of NXT. So I recently talked to AJ Francis about how the group was put together, but what's your relationship like with the Hit Row members today? Because of course the internet will say you guys don't get along, but I'm talking to one of the members right now. So what's your relationship like?
Right. Our relationship is great. I mean, everybody coming into this had their own idea of what they wanted their WWE career to be anyway. So us coming together and being able to gel and form a group was great. And that didn't stop now. I mean, after, it's like everybody still has their own lives and what they want to do. But we also meet in the middle as far as, the care and respect that we have for each other and us being a family. Like, that's never going to be broken. When you're in a faction or in any kind of group, whether it be a band or whatever, you create this bond with each other. And no matter what, the distance may be, you're always still going to have that connection, that bond. So, I mean, it's just as strong as it's ever been.
Good. Because there's always going to be someone out there saying that you're not getting along with your brother, your sister, your mother, your father. But I got you here sitting there telling me the truth. So I'm very happy to hear that. So let's talk about your NXT career, because one of the matches, your first singles match at NXT, was a no DQ match. And when you think of first matches, no one goes, oh, I think I want to be in the first ever, DQ match. What was that like? How do you prepare for a no DQ match when it's your first singles match?
I had never done any match at all of this caliber, this style, this anything. So when they told me that I was going to have this match, I automatically just started, researching everything. My thing is just, okay, let's get knowledge on what we're going to do. Let's, make sure we know every facet of this, different ideas or whatever. But I wasn't nervous because I'd been training. I was prepared, for wrestling in general. I was ready to be out there. But it was a little bit nerve-wracking because I wanted to make everything that we were doing really good. I wanted to make it interesting. I wanted to be exciting. I wanted the match to be great. So that's where my concern was, the ideas and what we we're going to do in the match, more so than like being, oh my God, it's a no DQ match. I wasn't really nervous about that. I was just like, okay, I want to be great. That was my main focus.
Man, because I can't imagine someone being like, hey, so today you're going to be in a no DQ match. I'm like, oh, Really?
Yeah.
I can imagine the nerves, at least in my stomach, fluttering. So, did you feel any nervousness, or were you just concentrating on make the match good, no matter what, make the match good?
I was nervous before we went out because to control what I can control and things always. I mean, any match you've ever seen, something did not go as planned. We just don't know what it was, right. So I was worried about that. I was like, okay, I just want everything to go kind of at least close to what we had planned. I was a little bit nervous when we were going out, but Shawn Michaels came to me. He's like, look, I know you've been putting so much on you recently. I know we've been asking so much of you, but you've been killing everything. And I know you got this. I know you can do this. So I was kind of like, okay, all right, I'm good. I got this. That was the first time I ever even a match with a break spot, like I had never done any match with any kind of chair or anything like that up until that day.
So what was your relationship like with members of the creative team like Shawn Michaels, Triple H, all those talents backstage helping you grow?
It was awesome. And it was just so like pure, honestly. It was just like having your uncles or your dad around, they really want you to succeed, even if you have an idea that they don't think is good or they don't want to use at the time, we're like, oh, we'll work it in later. They might be like, no, but then they're going to tell you, oh, no, it doesn't make sense because this and that, or we'll do that in the future. So I love stuff like that. Like if you're going to tell me no or tell me an idea that you don't want to use, tell me why so I know for the future and know how to think in that space or that direction. And you truly got that with them anytime, especially with Triple H. Like if he didn't want to use an idea or, if I wanted to get involved in a situation with the boys and he's like, no, we can't use that or you're not going to be able to do that because this and that. Like he never made me feel like, no, we're not going to use that because it's not a good idea. He's always like explaining why, I just really appreciate that and always loved that about him so much that both of them, if you weren't going to be able to use that idea or whatever, you were thinking of at the time for your character, even they told you why it might not be a good idea or how it can be portrayed, to people in the right way or the wrong way or whatever. But creative, having a relationship with them was really good because they truly gave us the ball. They truly believed in Hit Row and what we were doing. And they were like, look, we know that we aren't young and hip, so we don't really know what to, right when it comes. So we're willing to they were so willing to just let us be who we wanted to be as a group creatively and just tell us, okay, yes, no here. Okay, that sounds cool. Okay, I don't know what that is, but if you say it's cool and they think it's cool, let's do it. And that's what I really loved too and respected about both of them. They just kind of just let us go and just knew that we knew what we were doing when we were talking about this, being a young, group and being young and hip hop kind of thing.
Yeah, it's the cool uncle telling you what's cool. I like it. I like the I like it. I have a niece and nephew. I'm probably in the same boat. So when you were in NXT, you got called up. You got drafted to SmackDown. Now, of course, we're going to jump into a little of a Wrestling Observer. So Wrestling Observer said when you got called up to NXT to SmackDown, your contracts changed. You went from at least a 30-day to a 90-day non-compete clause. But what else about those contracts was different?
Well, they were going to be SmackDown contracts now. They were no longer going to be NXT contracts. Really not much had changed. I didn't get to sign my next contract for them before I got released. So whenever I released, I was still under my NXT contract. But what was changing the most part was that they were going to be now SmackDown contracts. Yeah.
Interesting. Yes, because I've talked to AJ Francis and he said it was the money. It was the money on the contract that was different for him, and he said that was the main difference. So I did not know that you were not able to sign your SmackDown contract because on October 1st you were drafted to SmackDown 2021, and you didn't even show up on SmackDown until October 22nd. So do you think there were plans for Hit Row, or you were the kind of the hot new thing in NXT and they needed a hot draft pick? So they brought you up, but did they have plans, you think, for you?
I feel like they loved so much what we were doing that they felt they could plug us in anywhere needed. Mm-hmm. So they had like a cool, like a whole storyline of what they wanted from us. But I felt like they believed in what we did in NXT so much that they were like, well, these guys can do anything, you know, so it doesn't really matter what we have them doing. Like before I got released, we were going to be doing promotions for the Black Friday sale, you know, so they were willing and ready to just use us for whatever because of, you know, how on we always were. So they might not have, I don't know if they had it for sure planned. Like I know they had us writing so many, like we wrote like 5 or 6 different promos for 5 or 6 different tag teams that they wanted us to do. So they were willing just to be like, look, these guys can do anything. Let's just use them and plug and play right now until something comes up exactly what we want to do with them. Like we had started doing stuff with New Day. So that was an option, you know, they had us doing promos against, you know, the Bloodline too. Like they were just everybody they had us doing promos, you know, for. So it could have went any way. And I feel like they just felt like that because we were such a hot group.
Yeah. And then, of course, you were let go before the other members of Hit Row. Now, why do you think, now I have no idea, why do you think you were let go and then 15 days later, the other members of Hit Row were let go?
I feel like at the time and what the company was doing was, you know, they were like trying to get this budget down. You know, they just wanted these numbers. Everything I feel like was about numbers and who was doing it. So for me, I felt like they were saying that my wrestling wasn't, you know, up where the other boys were and, you know, they can all wrestle now. And I kind of was going to be more in a manager area until my wrestling was better or where they wanted it to be. And they also felt all 4 of us could talk, all 4 of us could promo. So they might have felt too like, okay, well then what's the point of having me there if they can all promo? But they got to see, they released me that I was a huge piece of it, you know, and I was more of the vibe. I helped close and, you know, make the vibe what it was when it came with Hit Row and everything like that. And they saw that when I was released. But I really feel like they felt they could compare Hit Row to like New Day and how they had 3 guys and they worked out, and the Shield and how they were 3, they worked out. So I think they felt that it was like that, but they got to see that, you know, it was something different. It was something special.
Now to have many outside projects from, you know, you have music, you have modeling, you have your OnlyFans account. So like, let's talk about your outside project. So let's share with the audience, what do you have going on right now that people need to grab onto?
So right now, I have my new single Focus that's going to be released everywhere April 22nd. And then it's going to be released officially like on my OnlyFans account April 15th. I'm doing a special drop with them. They're doing a whole rollout for me for that as well. Yeah, just a lot of different things. I mean, we're with the Hitmakers now. We're doing different shows. You can book us for that. I'm wrestling again as well. Anybody want to book me for singles matches as well? So I just have tons of things going. I'm also still doing my TikToks and, you know, just like you said, my OnlyFans account by itself, and just so many things that I have going on now. So I'm very happy that I get to continue to do all the things that I want to do and do these things the way that I want to do them and not have to worry so much about having to get everything approved and having to slow my pace. I work really fast. Like I like to be doing things. So I'm really happy that I get to move at my pace again.
And now if the WWE came calling though, would you go back to WWE?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like I told everybody before, like for me, it's all a business. You know, I run myself and I run everything that Briana Brandy does like a business. So I can't look at anything that anyone else does and say like, okay, yeah, but that's wrong. Now, do I know why everything went the way it did even after I said what I said? No, I don't. But it's just like, I don't hold any grudges when it comes to anyone in business.
Goals for this year, because you already have so much going on. So like by the end of the year, what do you want to accomplish? What is on the horizon?
I want to have a major record by the end of the year. I want to be holding a title in some promotion. And, you know, maybe never know, get a Grammy for my music or whatever. I'm going for the moon on this. Honestly, I just really want to focus on anything that is under my Briana Brandy brand and just everything to succeed altogether. Just keep building growth. That's what I want.
And I just want to say thank you again for being here on NBC's 10 Count, because it was a pleasure to talk to you again. I wish I could have hair like you, but it's not possible. It's not possible. I think it's kids. I think it's kids that did this to me.
You'll get the grays maybe down here, and then you'll say,
"Oh, I got the grays. I shaved my beard off yesterday. Thank you very much."
"Why can't you have them from here?"
Briana Brandy, thank you so much for being here, and thank you everyone for watching another episode of NBC 10 Count. We'll see you next time. Bye.